Hey mamas, I'm Jess.
I'm America.
And I'm Melissa. And today we have Cristian Montano. Christian, thank you for joining us. You are a bit about you. You're a professional football player and a mental health advocate. So thank you for joining us. How are you?
My pleasure, man. Thank you for having me on your show. And I'm good, I'm good.
Tell us a bit about, not why did you become a mental health advocate, but what led you to...
I would say a lot of things, Obviously, the stigma in mental health, especially in men, is quite trying to make people understand that it's okay not to be okay. I've got a lived experience. And obviously, I went through a hard time in my life where in 2012, I got accused of rape. And at the time, it hit me. Obviously, it was a shock, you get me? I still carried on playing football, not realising what was actually causing me to cry sometimes. I didn't understand certain things because as a kid, I dreamed of obviously helping my mum. Like Latin American parents, they come to this country to clean, work, long hours, you get me? And not being able to spend a lot of the time with my mum and see how much she was struggling. So I always wanted to make her feel proud of me. And then when I hit the case of the rape accusation, I felt really low to start with. Obviously, seeing my mum, me getting arrested in front of my mum was a hard thing to take. And that kept on playing on in my mind. I moved to Manchester from London, and having to travel all the way from Manchester to London for the court appearance days was hard to take as well, was obviously draining, driving all them hours just to appear in court. And it was hard. It was emotionally draining. But at the time, I didn't really understand what was going on. I used to sit in my house in Manchester and cry. And I used to question myself, why am I crying? I dreamed of being financially stable. I've dreamed of all the nice things. I've got a nice house. My kid can have everything he wants. I've got cars. I've got 2 cars on my drive. And all them things. So I had everything, you get me. But I would still sit in my room and cry. But I didn't understand what it was. I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then a year down the line, obviously, I ended up getting charged with it. Not because I did it, but it was more or less the interviews that me and my friends gave. Obviously, it was the first time I was involved with the police or anything like that, and we were all scared. So our statement didn't really match. Even the girls' statements didn't really match. But they just thought, we got to take this to court to see what really happened. And then at the time that was happening, I then was encountered with another case that was even bigger than that I got accused of something that I didn't do. And it all came down to obviously being around certain individuals. It all came down to being afraid of losing friends. And I thought that by having people around me, I was content and I was happy. I thought that was my happiness by not being alone. So I accepted a lot of the things because I was afraid of being alone, you get me? And when this other thing arose, I was then hit with money laundering, fraud, cheating in sport, which was also a lie. But it was then again due to the fact that I said the wrong things and I didn't know how to say no to this individual. I was naive and young. So obviously I was hit with 2 cases. I was sacked from football in 2013. My name was tarnished. My image was finished, basically.
So at that point, were you already playing professionally?
Yeah, I was playing. I think I turned professional in 2010. I've gone from having sort of nothing in the UK to having it all to then losing everything in 2013. And at that point, all the people that I was sort of afraid of losing, I lost them because I've lost my job. So I wasn't important to these people anymore. So all my friends that I thought I had or I thought were friends to me were just there because of the things I had. Football agent obviously bounced as well. He left and I felt alone. And obviously all them little things kept on piling up because I couldn't speak. And I didn't know how to speak and I didn't know what to say to people. In the end, it turned out to be a big problem that I couldn't really deal with on my own. I was in this dark place, man. And it got to the point where I tried to take my own life in 2014 because obviously I was homeless, basically. I got myself in 15 grand worth of debt due to the fact that I couldn't really carry on paying the things I had. So everything was still piling up, but I didn't have the money to pay those things. I couldn't carry on helping my mom because obviously from the time I turned professional footballer, I basically stopped my mom from working. So that was when I was 17. And then going from that to then not being able to carry on helping my mom, who's worked so hard for me to get to the position I was in, he sort of made me feel like I have no worth, no value to my life. So I sort of planned it so well. And at this point I was with my missus, who I'm still with now, and she also sacrificed everything, left her job, moved to London to support me with my mum. But even though I was going through so many things and seeing the amount of people that turned their back on me when I needed them, I even thought my mum and my missus were against me. So I felt like I couldn't even speak to anyone because going from the rape case, I wanted to tell my story and how it happened, but I couldn't because the case was under investigation. You can't really speak to anyone about those things. Then the other case, I couldn't also speak to anyone about it because it was under investigation. So I had all them things in my head that I wanted to say to people. And even when I wanted to tell someone, they would turn around and say, I'm not interested, or we don't believe you. So I thought, well, the ones that I thought were with me don't believe me. So my mum and my miss isn't even going to believe me, get me? It got to the point where I was in Tiverton at my uncle's house, Seven Sisters, road. And my mum and my missus were going to Seven Sisters to get some food from the Latin market where obviously we all know we all been
Where
there.
we grew up.
Where we grew up, man, right behind it. And literally, because they love walking, my miss and my mum, they love walking. So I sort of timed it so well. And I said to myself, you know what, it will take them X amount of minutes to walk from near Manor House to the market. Way back, it will take them about 45 to an hour. So I'm going to try and do what I want to do, you get me, which was take my own life. And by the time I walked into the bathroom, took a knife in with me, and literally, as I was about to get into the bath, my missus and my mum broke through. They basically broke down the door. It's like they sensed I was going to do something because I went from being that funny, happy, loving kid to a very aggressive person towards them as well. And obviously, the door broke through and I broke down crying. I spoke to them. And seeing the pain that I was causing them, even though, especially my missus, who sacrificed a lot as well. And obviously my mum as well, you get me now. My mum's been there from day one. So seeing the pain I was causing them, just by the actions I was about to take, made me realise that they were actually there to support me. They weren't there to judge. I told them what I was thinking, what I was feeling, and what was going on, really. And that was sort of one of the moments that my life turned around. And realised I actually had two individuals that valued me more than what I thought they did.
Mama, I love you.
I think it was the turning point in my life, because even though I had no house, I had no money, I had nothing. I would say nothing materialistic in it, because a lot of people would say that materialistic things make them happy. But at that point, I realised that none of them things actually matter. It's about being happy, being healthy. And then I started to it was hard, but I tried to control my thoughts, redirect them. I tried to learn about myself a bit more, and I still had to face, by the time I was about to do what I was going to do, I still had to face the rape charge, the court thing. So I had to start focusing on that. And I said to myself, you know what, I ain't done nothing wrong. I had obviously social media, I had a lot of people on Twitter following me. I think at the time I had about between 10 to like 15,000 followers on Twitter. I was getting a lot of abuse for what I was going through, people laughing at me. You know what social media is like, you get me? If someone gets caught on a negative vibe, people start making the most of it. They love seeing people down and knocking people down. So, and I was buying into that a lot. I was starting to believe the things that all these individuals were saying about me, even though I didn't know any of them. And it got to the point where I deleted Twitter and started focusing on me a bit more, focusing on the case that I had in front of me. And I said to myself, obviously at the time, I used to say, I'm going to prove everyone wrong. I'm going to prove all these people wrong, that I didn't do all the things that I'm getting accused of, and I'm going to bounce back. I mean, all this debt, I've got no house. But what I realized, that I had my mum, my missus, and my eldest kid to fight for. And I faced the rape trial thing, won it. And then after that, as soon as I won the rape trial, I got rearrested again outside the court for something else that my name got mentioned in. So that I just got arrested basically to see if I knew the individuals that have been arrested somewhere else that were involved with another case. And it got to the point that I was so comfortable of being in a police station, where I used to walk in and be like, all right, I used to just say, like, I knew all the names. I said, can I have my tuna sandwich? Can I have a hot chocolate, please? Can I have a pillow? Can I have some blankets? And how long I'm gonna be in here for? So it became like the norm for me, because I think I was arrested 5 times. So I had to be mentally strong, man, when the whole world was against me. So what I had to face wasn't as bad as what I've already been through at the time. So I just smiled and I said to myself, another thing that I'm getting accused of, but I'm innocent, you get me? And after winning the rape charge thing, I ended up getting like, what it was, I got £900 back from the court, even though I've spent like a lot of money in the case. And what I did was I used that £900 and bought a one-way flight to Colombia to try and like get back into football, to just change scenario, get me? All the negativity that I was getting in the UK, all the bad press I was getting.
Would you say football was like your passion and the one thing that has always been a drive for you to do?
Yeah, obviously growing up in Colombia and seeing the things I had to witness and realizing how hard my mum had to work made football like my passion, really. And saying so, I didn't even know you could even earn a career from playing football. I just played it because of the love of the game. But one thing I'd say is that my mindset changed towards the game when I started getting paid. I started now going and thinking how much I'm going to earn my next contract. And I forgot how much I genuinely enjoyed playing football when I was a kid, when I never got paid. And I think that sort of like led to all my problems, led to all my down times, my sad times. Because when you do things for money, it's when you're going to encounter a lot of problems. And that was my issue at the time. The more sort of money I was getting, the better cars I was driving, better clothes I was wearing, and the wrong type of people I was attracting. By the time I thought they were my friends, always like the nights out when I could have been staying at home, But then it's something I never regret because it happened to me so young that I was able to learn from it and grow from it. But yeah, my football's always been my passion.
When you say that you were gonna take your life,
Yeah.
like obviously we've all encountered depression at some point in life. Did you think that obviously you not being here everyone would be better off without you because of all the ongoing issues that were happening? But did your son never cross your mind?
Nah, at that point I was just in this bubble, this dark place where I stopped thinking about everyone. I just thought about I was thinking about all the things I was going through, and I thought, this is all mad. I'm never going to get out of this. My life is ruined. And it was more like I was embarrassed, ashamed of what I was going through. Yeah, like no one crossed my mind at the time, not even my son, I ain't going to lie. It was only when I spoke to my mom and my missus was when I sort of like realized, I've got my mom, I've got this beautiful girl who's like sacrificed a lot to just be here and support me when I've got nothing going on. And I've also got my beautiful son who I want to give what my dad never gave me. And that's when sort of like things started clicking and I started how I turned my life around. Also, obviously, we always say I'm always waiting for that moment to happen so I can be happy or my life can be turned. But my first moment was speaking to my mum, my missus, about my thoughts, my feelings. And then the second moment was being able to then my fears and be like empowered by them. Where I started exercise. So I started thinking back to what actually made me feel happy. So when playing football and I used to get tired, I used to love that feeling. Started doing home-based workouts and making myself feel that tired, that took the distraction away from the negative thoughts that I was having. To Colombia, to Cali, which was also a struggle at the time because obviously I had no money again to like live in Cali, but I was staying with, who's a friend now, but a guy called Wanga Adiel Vega, who took me in his apartment and showed me the ways around Cali, took me to train with a medic at Cali, who I knew the manager at the time, and I ended up 2 months after me training with them and struggling in Cali, I ended up signing for America at Cali, which I was made one of the top earners at the club with my first pay. Then obviously paid for my mom's fly and my missus to fly to Colombia, and then started building my life again slowly.
I was gonna say, like sometimes we have really bad days and we have really tough situations that we go through, and sometimes it's hard to kind of realize, is it just a bad day that we're experiencing or am I depressed? So sometimes we fear to admit that we're going through depression because the way we've been raised or the whole stigma around it. If you go back to our background, like our culture, I've had a lot of people that I will speak to them about depression, or I've had someone really close to me that suffered from it. And when I was explaining to an adult, this person is going through depression and she's thinking suicidal thoughts, their response was, some boas, like she's just being silly and like that's just things in her head. So we're never really take it as serious, and which is why we like to talk about things. And so do you think you kind of got to a point where you actually thought, shit, I'm depressed? I guess it's kind of putting that pride aside to accept your feelings.
Yeah, I think it's pride and ego that we're scared of admitting or be seen as we're weak. The way we've been brought up, especially like obviously Latin Americans, how our parents are, that they're good at hiding pain.
And also, as you mentioned, Latin American parents tend to always tell you as a man, even as a boy, boys don't cry. So they teach you from a very young age that you have to repress those feelings.
Obviously, I will speak honestly, we're all Latin American here, Colombians, but I guess other cultures are the same, where with the boys and, don't cry because only girls cry. But what I've realized is that now that I understand it, speaking is actually not a weak thing to do. Men do cry, I've cried bare times, and I'm not ashamed of admitting it, you get me? But what you got to do is, of what I've done, I've had to accept my past. I've had to embrace it, appreciate the journey. Because if it weren't for the journey, I wouldn't be the man I am now. Our thoughts are so powerful that we didn't actually feel them. And by feeling them, we end up acting on them as well. Prime example that I'd say that it's just the weather, for example, yeah. You get up in the morning, it's raining outside. As soon as you see it's raining, all of a sudden you're in this negative vibe. And now it's important to just speak, be honest with yourself, accept the journey. Don't be ashamed or embarrassed of what you've been through. And just because you're a guy, you are allowed to feel weak. It's part of life. You have to accept it. Don't fight against it. Embrace it, man.
Mama's Code.
How has your experience that you've had changed with how you are bringing up your kids and how you're teaching them about emotions?
I let my two boys be themselves. I don't put no pressure on them. I let them be kids to start with. And what I do is basically show them things that I was never shown when I was a kid. So like little things like, I won't even say little things, I'll say big things. So like taking them into see kids who are less able to do things, like with disabilities. So they can understand that even those kids that are less able to do certain things are still humans and deserve the respect. Like they're not everyone else to be laughed at or to make fun of. They're still human beings, regardless of what difficulties all these kids are facing. So I'm teaching them everyone deserves respect, and it's okay to cry. Like my little boy, my youngest, for example, he might want to climb the wardrobe. I don't run down and be like, no, don't do it. I will tell him, getting up there is dangerous. But if you want to do it, go ahead. And if you fall down, you're going to hurt yourself. But then you're going to experience that it's dangerous and this is not. And he will do it. He might get back down and he might fall down, but then he'll get back up and be like, you know what, Daddy, it did hurt. I'm not going to cry, but I won't do it again. And when he does cry, I'll hold him or I'll ask him what he's crying for. And then I just let them be, get me? Let them learn from themselves, because that's how my mom brought me up. She showed me how to get myself back up, and that's how I'm teaching my sons. I'm not there to pick him up, because the moment I'm not there, they're going to struggle. So I'm showing them how they can bounce back by me doing it myself. That it's okay to ask for help when you genuinely do need it, but then if you can get up on your own, just prove yourself that you can.
You know, with like the whole mental health situation, would you say the football industry support players like yourself and others in this topic?
Yeah, I think it's starting to be more noticeable. I think clubs are more aware of what's going on, and there's a lot of charities out there now involved in football. One's called Mind Charity, and they are encouraging people to speak, because the amount of footballers, I know a lot of guys that have played in the Premier League, Championship, that have earned 50, 60, 70 grand a week. I'm still struggle with depression. No matter how successful you are, how much money you have or how much money you don't have, we all experience some form of mental health or emotional health. But I do think that football now is starting to understand it even more now, and are willing to help footballers speak out, which is good. And not speaking took me to this dark place. So now I know how to redirect my thoughts, how to control them. And when I feel like I'm sort of getting away from my tactic, I get my headphones on, my trainers on, and I go for a run, which then allows me to not think about what I was thinking before.
What you said about how you're dealing with your like mental health, it's important to note that it's an everyday kind of battle. It's not just kind of a period. It's not a problem, but when you suffer from mental health, people seem to sometimes think, okay, well, you know, they might have depression or they might have anxiety, and maybe one minute they're okay and then the next minute they're not. But it's an everyday thing, and you go through highs and lows daily. And I think it's so important when people can realize what they need to do to get themselves through the day. And if for you running and training is what you do, that is amazing, because you've been able to say, okay, I know when I feel shit and crap, and you know what, I know what I can do to make myself feel better. And I think that's a really massive thing for people that do suffer with like mental health.
I've been helping a lot of people recently, and what advice I give to those individuals is, when you don't know how to control or identify why you feel the way you feel, you're going to be getting all these thoughts. So what you do is basically, whatever thought you're getting, whether it's negative or positive, get a pen and paper or get on your notes and write down those negative thoughts, which then you can actually see in front of you what is getting you down, and then you can actually then analyze it and take it from there. If you're getting happy thoughts and all of a sudden you're jumping up and down, write those happy thoughts down and then compare the sad ones and the happy ones and see what the difference is. Oh, like I've got probably about 200 things on my phone, whether it's like little quotes or little messages to myself. And what I do every morning I wake up, I read them. I would then watch like a motivational YouTube video that's gonna help me start my day. Or I would meditate, but I to just be relaxed, content with myself. And there's nothing wrong with having bad thoughts, you get me? It's just being able to not let them thoughts consume you. That's my honest opinion. The prime example, obviously, it sort of relates itself with mental health. Like when you're going on holiday, before the plane takes off, again, all the information, instructions, what you do, blah, blah, blah. In any case of an emergency, the oxygen mask will come down. They say to you, put it on yourself first before you help other people.
Were there any other like organizations that you reached out, or did you ever like go to the NHS or?
Nah, what did it for me was speaking to my mum, speaking to my missus, and then reflecting on my upbringing. What actually helped me get back up was seeing and realizing how much my mum had to work and go clean those toilets, and realizing and thinking back to those times where if she bought food, we won't be able to get a drink. Like those hard times when I used to see my mum cry, and so I had to just think about those times and then focus on what was next for me, which was the cases. Because if I would have let myself go and be defeated by my thoughts, I would have probably would have lost my cases, because I wouldn't be focusing on saying the truth and being able to control my emotions. But I would advise the people, if they can't speak to their loved ones, seek help everywhere else, because there's a lot of people there that are willing to help. There's a lot of charities. But what stops people from speaking is being judged, being told to grow up, like guys, for example, even girls, to man up. Like I don't really understand what man up means. So that's why a lot of people probably don't even speak.
They're afraid of attention seeking, because that's what some people see mental health as. So me explaining to you that I'm not feeling okay, for you it kind of just be like, oh, you're being melodramatic, just stop. But it's those same people, like when you do go ahead and, God forbid, kill yourself, it's those people under the comments like, oh my God, why didn't they come to me? I could have helped, what could I have done? But people don't really realize, like you said, social media is like one of the major platforms where like big people like you and other stars get picked on constantly. And then when they do go ahead and commit suicide, people are like, oh, I wonder what happened to them. You know, they had all the money in the world. What problems could they possibly have? And they don't see the root of the problem, which is them. You know, the issues you went through. You obviously see in people making jokes and, you know, saying one thing and saying the other. And specifically people that you thought were your friends turning their back on you. Of course, that's going to get anyone down.
You're right, man. One thing I'd say is social media If you're not, like for me at the time, I couldn't take in what was being said about me the right way. I had to leave social media. You gotta be strong enough to delete something that's breaking you. You gotta be strong enough to walk away from a situation that's affecting your mental health. You matter to the world. And for those people that if anyone would come and share their thoughts and their experience of what they're going through with you, don't rush them. Just give them time. And if you want to help them as well, when they tell you what's going on, if you want to ask a question, leave it open. Give them more room for explanation. They can actually carry on explaining what they're going through rather than what we just discussed. Oh, don't worry, you'll get over it. And then if I'm saying something to you about what I'm going through and you tell me, oh, don't worry, you'll get over it, I'm in limbo.
It's like Chadwick, Black Panther. He had posted some pictures where he looked, his body didn't look healthy. And it came to light that actually so many people had commented negative points about, how he was looking, how skinny he was, how deteriorated he looked, that he was pushed to delete these pictures off his Instagram just because people were obviously sending horrible messages only to come and, pass away because he was struggling through cancer. And now everyone was like, shit, it makes sense. And it's kind of like social media is such a horrible rabbit hole that you just, everyone always says, I'm living the perfect lifestyle. And then you get the horrible people that are just dropping the comments. Like, I don't understand these people actually sit and scroll through social media. Look at all the Love Island people as well that have gone and killed themselves. Like, a question that I really wanted to ask, because I've always thought people that commit suicide are really strong. Like, I've always believed that. I don't think it's easy to stand at the top of a bridge and jump or cut your veins or stab yourself, however you want, hang yourself. I don't think it's the easiest thing to do. But my question is it strength or is it desperation that kind of pushes you to think this? I mean, yeah, it is, but
no, I get what you're saying, man. I think I think it's desperation, man. When get to the point where you don't want to be in this world no more. Desperation of like, where do I turn to? What do I do now? No one trusts me. No one wants to listen to me. Your inner self then sort of takes over you. Subconsciously, you start thinking about all them negative things, and they start overpowering you. And that's when you sort of get this strength, and it's like you become possessed.
It's literally like the voices in your head. Some people have a voice. So I didn't know this, but some people don't have a voice in their head, and some people do. So it's like,
some people are visual. I remember we had the
crazy.
discussion recently that they don't have a voice in their head. They see things.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first saw this, I really tried so hard to see things, like to see it in the other angle, like to not hear, because I do have a voice in my head, like my subconscious, I don't know.
I have several voices in my head.
Sometimes you're in the shower and you think about fights that you're going to do and arguments, and if you ever find yourself in a situation, I'm like, yeah, and I'm going to do this, and this person in my head is like back and forth. But obviously these people that suffer in like depression and mental health, like that voice literally becomes out of yourself. So that voice is the one that tells you, kill yourself, harm yourself, no one loves you, the world is not going to care if you're gone. So it's like, I think schizophrenic people, this is basically what they deal with every single day.
I think it's part of like anxiety, man, because I had that. I used to be, obviously I can laugh about it now because obviously I'm all over that and I can talk about it with so much ease and calm. But with me, I'll be in my kitchen and I'll get all these voices, man, like screaming at me. And all of a sudden, all them voices in my head would then start coming out. And I was speaking at like 100 miles per hour to myself, about myself. And I'm looking around like all like paranoid, thinking what's going on. And I'm like, I need to try and calm myself. I started shaking. I'm like, yo, what's going on here, man? Like speaking to I thought I was going crazy, man. So like the demons were taking over me. And obviously I named my demons depression and anxiety at the time. And even now that I can say I'm over it, you're never over it. Like Mel said, like it's an everyday thing, you get me? Like I've got a life coach I pay money every month, like direct debit, because there's always someone out there that's better than you. I text him every day, how I'm feeling, what's going on in training, what's going on in football, business plans I share with him. He tells me how to give, like, direct my approach to things. If I'm angry about something, before I actually explode, I text him and I call him and I'll be like, yo, this happened, that happened, and then he will question me, how are you gonna react? What are you thinking of saying? And then I'll say, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna say that, and then he'll stop there. So this person helps me. And a lot of people might see it like, oh, it's a waste of money, but thanks to this person, I'm now able to control my thoughts a bit better.
I don't think it's a waste of money. I actually think if you can invest in yourself, then why not? And if you see a positive thing coming out of it and it's helping you day to day, then it's not a waste of money. And people who may not need this, then, you know, each to their own. But when you find something that works for you, you stick to it. It's important to find these things that help you. You're battling with something that you never want to go back to where you was, so you will do everything in your power to never go there again.
But it's like, look at the way that you pay gym memberships. There's some people out there that pay like £100 a month
And not go.
Like me too, yeah. But, you know, you pay these things to look after your body, your physical state, to feel better and look better, right? Why, like, this is what we need to normalize, that it's okay if you're paying a therapist to look after your mental health. Your mind and your thoughts, only you know what's there. So if that's not making you act right, and you know in yourself that actually this is not the person I am, why is it so like, I can't believe you're paying a therapist? Like, just recently, actually, one of our really close friends, he was directed to a therapist, and when he was telling us about it, he was a bit like, I'm not sure what people will say. And I said to him, why do you care what people say if you're scared to talk to anyone else around you? Because that's one thing that sometimes we fear telling someone how we really feel, because they might look at us like it's not that deep, like Erica was saying. So when people say, why would you pay it? I think that's bullshit.
I think the stigma around mental health is mainly to do with, when you talk about mental health, some people see it as...
You're crazy.
Yeah. I remember when I came out and I said, you know, I had mental health issues. Ollie came and he was like, but isn't that like crazy people? And I was like, what? And then he was like, yeah, that is that crazy people? Yeah. And I was like, do I look like a crazy person to you? And he was like, no. And he was like, well, that's why I don't think you have mental health. And I was like, no, well, you need to educate yourself, because clearly that's not what it means. And he's not the only person that will actually think that. Me, I would never think, you know, I'm depressed. And even to the point that when I walked into my therapist's room, it took me 5 weeks for me to open up to him. I'll literally waste 1 hour of his day, because I'll literally sit there and I'll be like, yeah, I'm fine. And it was a thing where, like, when I finally felt comfortable, I said, if I tell you what's wrong with me, is someone going to walk in through that door and take my kids away? And then he was like, no, of course not. And I was like, okay. And then I just literally was an open book, and I have been ever since. But it's that fear of, like, you know, when you see in the movies, like, you're not there and you just think, oh no, this is it, like, gonna be locked up and put in them straight jackets. And that's what I used to think.
Basically, se metió en la película so deep.
It was one of the voices in my head.
Do you know what? It's good that we can laugh about it now, because like we said, in one way or the other, we've all had moments in our lives where we've had to deal with mental health and kind of our demons, and let's be happy that we've been able to find ways of dealing with it and coming out to a better side now.
Like, you know what you just said, Eric, about the mental health? So that's why when I talk about it, sometimes I say emotional health instead of mental health, because some people think the mental word, you're crazy, man. So when I'm speaking to individuals, I normally tend to use their emotional health. But for those who might think, oh, emotional health, that's nothing serious, then I'll say, you know what's mental health? It's like you've cut your hand. Even a stranger will walk past you and be like, are you okay? What you've got in normal life now is like, ask anyone, are you okay? You can see someone walking on the street with a bloody right. This person is going to go to a park and try and hang themselves. He can walk past. There are a lot of people, and no one would ask him if it's okay. Deep down, this person is going to go to this park and hang himself, you get me? So it's about being kind to one another. You don't need to see someone bleeding to ask them if they're okay, or crying.
If I was in a situation where I'm thinking I'm better off not being in this world, and someone was to be nice to me, I might actually think, I'm not going to do that today. I might live another day.
So you just might not do that, full stop.
Daddy, I love you.
You know, you say you've suffered from, like, with anxiety. Did you ever experience panic attacks?
What I experienced was crazy, man. Like, I don't know if it was panic attack or at the time I didn't understand anything. Like I said, I used to grab a and a drink, and I'll be like this, and all these voices.
Mm.
Like I said, I used to think I was going crazy, man. I was like, yo, there's no one around me. Like, I'm not even tired, but why am I like shaking? Why am I like breathing the way I'm breathing? Like, what's going on? Like I said, at the time, I didn't know it was anxiety, depression, or if it was a panic attack, but it wasn't good at all, man. Like I said, I embraced what I went through in a way I don't regret it. It could have ended wrongly for me, but don't wait to that moment because someone might not actually be able to save you. Be honest with yourself and open up. And if someone's speaking to you about anything, just don't judge them. Like, being kind don't cost a thing, man.
As well as asking if you're okay.
I feel like I go through this when you're having one of those days where you're down, or you've had like a really shit week, and say like you don't want to vocalize what's happening to you. Like I write it down because I feel like petty little shit, but I would just write it down because it's bothering me. But say my partner will notice that something's wrong and he'll be like, what's wrong? That really like bugs me. And he's like, I can't help you unless you tell me. But sometimes I just don't want to share nothing that's going on with me. Would you say there's something I should be sharing, or is it okay to just not share? Because like you did say, you know, be open and kind of give them time to reach out when, you know, when a person's ready.
I think if you've got the support of your partner, it's best to be open, because then it'll become like an awkward then situation around the house, especially if you've got kids. When my missus will ask me, is there something wrong with you? I normally say, yes, there is, but wait for me to sort of like digest what I'm going through and what I'm thinking, and then I'm going to come and tell you. But don't keep asking me if there's something wrong. But I would always then come back and be like, you know what, this is what I was thinking, and this is what I'm thinking of doing. And then she'll turn around and be like, oh, okay, I understand. And it's bothering me. Then she'll like try and calm me down in a way that it won't make me feel like she's judging me or trying to make me feel like what I'm thinking is little. No matter how petty it might sound, but if it's bothering you, it's big, you get me? So it's about being open, man. And don't let it build up, because in the end, it will end up costing your relationship. You'll end up costing something that you don't want to lose.
You get me? Sorry, I just had to. I was going to say, it's been very interesting speaking about it. And I think it's something that so many people need to hear. And it's so great that it's coming from a man himself, because what we've said is that men are the ones that are told, oh, eso es para las nenas, you know, that's for women. Like,
yeah,
man up, like you said. Like, what does man up even mean? And it's something that we do need to pass on down to our children as well. And like, me and Erica are raising 2 boys, so for us it's very important to try to, you know, like normalize it within our house, that it's accept your feelings and what's wrong, and let's talk about it. And it's okay if this made you upset, and it's absolutely fine. You're still a man if you're feeling these things, and it's okay if you're not happy about the stage of your life that you're in. But what's important is that, okay, you're not happy here, but what can we do to put you in a better situation, and be grateful for the things that you do have at the moment. It's really good that we've had this conversation with you, for other men listeners, or even for other mothers raising boys and stuff. Because do you know what? At the end of the day, it's not easy if you put yourself in a situation of a parent to hear your child say, or walk into your child almost taking their life. I'm pretty sure your mom at that point, she did not care anything of what you had done, or what she just thought, I need to be here for my son. This is why we need to build a better generation around mental health. We've lost too many people to mental health issues for it to not be an issue in itself. So the fact that you're also saying, you know, the sports industry is only kind of coming to realize, oh, it's important. It's a little bit too late, but it's good that they've started. The lifestyle that, you know, you guys as football players, as celebrities, you know, the lifestyle you live is very fast, and it's very easy to get lost in the money, the fame, the people that you're around, that you lose yourself in this. You know, like you say, there's a jackpot and you kind of just doing whatever it is to get there. Like, I mean, if you ask me, I'd be happy to cry and be depressed in the Maldives, but that's not the point.
Yeah, no, you're right, man. I was living on the fast lane, man. That sort of letting my ego take over me. Even though it's not like, oh, I'm a Premier League footballer, or a championship footballer or anything like that. It was just because what I was achieving in my own life that made me feel like I was unstoppable. Made me feel like I had everything under control. But little that I knew was that I didn't. I had what I call under control. I was basically losing myself. And it took a big hit for me to find myself again. I don't live my life like I used to. I'm more sensible. I learn how to appreciate myself. I learn how to appreciate money. I learn how to appreciate my family even more. Love my kids, love my missus, love my mum. I know we got kids and that, and we tend to do, oh, I'm doing this for my kid, I'm doing this for my son, I'm doing this for my daughter, or whatever, I'm doing this for my mum. But then what are you doing for yourself? Focus on yourself first, because then you're going to be happier and you'll actually be able to give your kid, your mum, your dad, whoever you class as valuable in your life, you're going to be able to give them the best version of yourself. But if you're constantly giving, and not taking care of yourself, at some point you're going to hit a brick wall. And then you're going to ask yourself, does anyone actually care about me? Look into your inner self and then see what is that thing trying to teach you. The coronavirus situation and everything that everyone went through. It was a hard time for everyone, financially especially. But that time, it actually enabled you to spend more time with your family. If you got kids, especially with your kids. So instead of seeing those moments as negative, then see the positive side of it. Like for me, I was able to see my kids for so long together, learn what things they enjoy doing. It's about turning negative into positives. You get me?
We've discussed so much about kind of the good things and how we can help ourselves in doing this, and thank you for sharing your experience with us. I think you shed a lot of light here and awareness, but we always like to end kind of an episode in giving a golden tip. Out of everything we've discussed, I think you've given so many tips already, but if you could choose one, what would it be?
Embrace your journey.
I'd also like to say I love hearing how much credit you give yourself. Not a lot of people, that have gone through mental health issues, they just don't give themselves enough credit. Everything you've encountered and you've overcome so many things, and you finally are in a better place. Like, you've made it this far from when you started. I just love it that you can enable and you can feel celebrated because you've done something good for yourself, and not just for yourself but for others too. Because if people say, Cristian Montano can do it, why can't I do it? You were in the verge of that direction, of being another person that sadly would just pass away, but a strength in you obviously didn't let you, and I'm happy.
Amen.
Thank you, man. And I enjoyed sharing my story, and I hope it could help any of your listeners, whether you're a guy, especially obviously girls as well. Guys, man, if you're going through something, just don't be ashamed, man. Embrace it and just share it. You're only gonna grow from it.
Also, guys, for everyone listening, Cristian here has started a podcast as well called Men Unite. So head over as well. It's all about emotional health awareness as well.
Yeah, one's called Men Unite, which is a group in Stoke-on-Trent that encouraging men obviously to speak and now on a better path. And then another one, which is similar to the Men Unite, but in this one is called Men United for Change, which we have 2 psychologists already as well in the group, 5 of us. We're just trying to bring light and awareness.
There you go, guys. We will make sure to tag the 2 platforms that he started. If you're interested, or if you have someone that's currently suffering from mental depression as well, and don't forget to ask your friends, your family, the men that you love around you as well. Make sure you consider these things.
And boys can cry.
Yes, they can.
You can cry, man.
Thank you.
Been a pleasure, man. Hope you girls continue your journey.
Thank you.
You guys are doing amazing as well.
Thank you very much.
I'm not taking the piss, but on the count of 3, can you say one last time, you get me? Because I really like how you say it.
1, 2,
3. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Cristian, for coming on. Thank you for sharing your story.
Wishing you the best of
See you at
luck.
the Maldives. Mama's Code out. Mwah.
Mama's Code.
I can let you finish off like that, please.
Siempre la caga.
No lo haga. On the count, I was like, Dios mío, bendito.